Hello, everybody, and welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World, brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. Be sure to visit them on the web at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. I am your host, Ryno, and this week I am joined by none other than Deni Sunderley.
Hi there.
And in today's episode, we're just going to be going over the best and the worst of the year 2020. I know it seems absolutely foolish to do, but we do this every year. We like to look back and reflect on the year. This is and this year, this episode, I believe, actually comes out on December 31st. So it's our New Year's reflection today. So
it's perfect. It's the beginning of awards season already.
Yes, the best season. Yes. And yes, hence why we're dressed all in our gold, and going out a little fancier than we've been for the last 9 months, I guess, So we are going to start with the worst today because we feel like, and some of this is pretty obvious, but I feel like we found some good best things too this year, which was really nice. And so I want to go out on that positive note. So I think we just dive right in here. We're going to go with, obviously, the worst thing that happened in 2020 was, unfortunately, the COVID-19 outbreak, the coronavirus, and the closing and shuttering of all the Disney parks around the world. And, not to mention all the deaths and everything like that we received. But specifically, when I'm speaking about the experience of going to Walt Disney World, is, that was one of that was the big thing. And never in the company's history had a theme park, any of these theme parks, been closed for that long, and Disneyland is still closed, which is crazy to me.
Yes, it is. And I remember, back mid-March when word came out, that the parks are going to be closing, and we were all like, oh my goodness, like it's just, the whole unprecedented, hate that word.
Yeah, I know.
Completely. That is like the worst word right there. But, but I remember us thinking, okay, 2 weeks, and it just stretched and ended up being months here at Walt Disney World. And like you said, it's continuing for the Disneyland, park goers, the guests, the cast members. So yeah, it's just such a strange thing. And yes, that's got to be, the pandemic and its effects on all things Walt Disney World. That's among the worst.
It's kind of crazy because honestly, I feel like the closing of the Disney parks was the thing that really sent the message that it was like, this is serious, a business that very well that operates 365, 24/7 basically is saying that, no, we have to close for a little bit. And I think that was the big wake up call for a lot of folks. And, again, it's horrible, kind of the aftermath of everything that's come from this pandemic that is still going on too. So let's not pretend like it's gone. And that, the loss of lives that we received, the loss of jobs. But we do want to specifically, obviously, speak about the experience of Walt Disney World and kind of the ripple effect that has had, the closing of all those parks. And I think another real sad thing in the Disney community that happened this year is the layoffs of its. How many cast members is the new projected number? It's somewhere around like 32,000, I think.
Yes. Yeah. It's mid-third. I heard at one point it was close to 35, but yeah,
oh,
no,
geez.
I think you're right.
I think you are right, because I think it was 27 originally, and then they said 8,000 more, so that would be about 35. I think you're right. I guess I was lowballing it, but it's just insane.
It is, and it's so sad because the cast members do make the magic. That's what they do every single day, day in and day out, and not only did we lose so many cast members, some who are just at the beginning of this month cycled off from being a cast member, some for the first time in a lot of years, but also the cast members who are left, who, still have their job and are thankful to have that. But so many dear friends of theirs have lost their jobs. So how do you balance that, and how do you deal with that, and everything, all in the framework of COVID and all of the safety measures that are currently implemented in the parks? It was all just very, very heavy, and our hearts go out to them.
Yeah, it's crazy too because a lot of these people you think like, oh well, they're, you know, uh, uh, I don't know how I'm trying to say this, that layoffs are oftentimes expected in companies, right? Throughout the ebbs and flow of the economy and whatnot. But this is kind of such a unique situation where it was no telling who or what line of businesses were going to be affected the most. Obviously, I think it was parks and resorts that got hit the most, but it is one of those where this could have been your career,
Yes.
and some people on a trajectory that they've been working for so long. I've seen so many people say this, and you'd lost your job for no fault of your own, just random acts of God. And it's just one of those things where it's kind of sad because it's a lot of it isn't gonna come back. That's the reality to it. I know there's a lot of people that were holding out hope to be like, I know that a lot of people that have been furloughed and laid off have there's like a 2-year clause about being able to be called back. But the reality of the situation, I think, is that that a lot of these jobs and positions aren't going to come back because they're trying to really tighten up the purse strings and stuff like that. And someone was kind enough to ring my doorbell right when I started this conversation. So I do very much apologize for that, but it is the season for doorbells to be rung 42 times a
Yeah.
day nowadays. But
And there was a small corgi sighting just then, so that
oh
was
yeah, could
that
you
was
see him
fun.
run? Okay,
Yeah,
he
little
he
corgi
jumped
butt.
off the chair behind me. Yeah. Um, no, and yeah, so I do feel really just kind of it's hard for those people that have really built a life around this, and the scariest part about all that is we talk about it like, oh, it's happened or it's still happening, but also we're not even into that ripple effect yet. Like we've seen them laid off and furloughed, but we haven't seen that effects of like when stuff starts to happen, when people are going to be losing their houses and how are you going to feed your families and stuff like that. And it has been an emotional roller coaster. And I don't mean to wallow in that thing, but I want to, I know it's important to you too, Denny, that we do acknowledge people's pain and loss and things like that, and say that, we try what we can do to be here for you and empathize with you and things like that. And our hearts go out to you, like you said before, so beautifully. But, continuing on with the things that kind of disappeared this year as an effect of this, we lost a lot of live entertainment too. Even when the parks reopened, we didn't get a lot of the shows or anything like that back. Just a couple have kind of crawled back, but nothing. I don't think really anything super major.
No, and it's so weird because you'll be in the park and you'll think, I can go see Beauty and the Beast or Indiana Jones, Epic Stunt Spectacular, or whatever, fill in the blank. They are, for the most part, they're just not happening. We've got, for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along in Disney's Hollywood Studios. So I'm glad that we have that. That certainly was a lot of fun to celebrate the return of. But there are so many little instances from the street atmosphere in Hollywood Studios to just all the offerings in Epcot just not happening right now.
Yeah.
Other than the Janitors and Mariachi Cobra, and
the Voices of Liberty.
Yeah, currently for the festival, the Voices of Liberty, which we're so thankful to have. But there's so many others that are no longer here.
Yeah, it is crazy because I think you can kind of start to feel that. I mean, and like going along with that live entertainment, we've also lost a lot of like the character meet and greets. And it's really kind of one of those things where it's weird. At first, it was just like, okay, well, I think Disney being open offered a way for a lot of people who, especially for like local people, who are able to get out of the house and go somewhere that is conducted in kind of a safe manner, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But it is one of those where I was just thinking, where I was like, I really haven't had a picture with a character at all this year. Like I mean, and we'll talk about the pop-ups, the different versions that have come from that as well. But yeah, I know there are some people, I mean, think about it. They used to sell like those autograph books. People used to bring the shirts all the time and get all the autographs on the shirts, the hats, whatever. And there were people where that was, everybody experiences Disney in their own way. And, I've often spoken that, and I know you enjoy the snacks. I enjoy the food and drinks, and like that's an aspect of storytelling that we really enjoy. And there's people that I think for them, it's characters, and it's like seeing those, like, ooh, how are they going to bring that character to life in the park? And we did lose a lot of that, this year, sadly, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's you can't hug a character anymore. You can't come up and have a conversation just one on one. It's just different, and it is, all those character meet and greet strategies that you would have, or trying to find the rare or elusive characters. Like, that's just kind of the pause button has been hit, and it's kind of funky, and it's a little sad. Just something, we were talking before the show. This is one of those things that you would plan your park day around, is getting to make sure that you got to meet, all those princesses or whomever you were looking forward to meeting that day. You would need to be in a certain spot at a certain time, like Alice and Mary Poppins in the UK Pavilion at Epcot. They're just not randomly standing out there the entire day. There are certain times that you want to be there to be able to meet them. Well, now it's just a little bit different, and it's that unfortunately was one of the things that we've lost.
Do you think there's a character that you kind of notice the most that you're like, it's really something? Because I have one in mind where I'm like, okay. Every time I'm in this area, I'm like, it's very noticeable to me that character's missing. Do you have a place like that?
Oh my goodness. You say yours and let me think.
Mine is Kylo Ren in
sure.
in Galaxy's Edge on Batuu, because which we were going to say in the best, but there is Rey, Chewie, Stormtroopers, and V Marathi. They still come out in a socially distanced way, but I often will walk through there, and because Kylo's ship is landed there, his TIE Echelon or whatever it's called is there, and like sometimes there's stormtroopers that still come out there. It's very noticeable to me that Kylo Ren never comes out there, and I miss the general too, like the or the Grand Moff, whoever it might have been. I don't know his character's name, but they provided such great interactions, but the fact that they're not even there, like, at all, like, I haven't seen Kylo Ren since before the park closed, other than the attractions. Right. So that's why I'm like, it to me is kind of like, I miss that, because I think that was really a golden, it added so much by doing so little, by just having a character walk down the street and say, because being a character that can voice, it was just funny to like see the interactions they have with people. And I didn't realize how much I really enjoyed seeing that,
Yeah. I think I'm going to stay in Hollywood Studios. I've spent some time, sometimes I'll go over, if I'm covering something in Hollywood Studios, I'll end up in the relaxation station. That's what they have, indoor, outdoor relaxation station at Launch Bay, Star Wars Launch Bay in Animation Courtyard. And so I'll end up over there and do some writing. And as I'm walking by, I mean, every single Disney Junior, their little cubby area with their backdrop and everything's themed, and the music, they're keeping the music on, which is neat. And the backdrops are open for guests to be able to take their own little selfies, in front of, but it's just weird not having all those characters. Yeah. It is very strange. And then, back over toward, Star Tours, not having Jedi Trials of the Temple running.
It's weird because you don't hear the, because usually you can hear them yelling or like saying something, and you're right. Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird not seeing that happening, because I would stop. My kid's not up on stage, but I'm going to stop and look, because it's so much fun to watch them interact with these really bad guys and wield their lightsabers and everything. So yeah, it's kind of sad. Well, another thing that I feel like was missing, and that I guess I'm guilty of taking it for granted, or one of the things I always said, here in Florida, it's weird because when I was a kid I was an adult in Massachusetts too. So I'm not going to say just when I was a kid. My whole life in Massachusetts, I always loved the 4th of July fireworks. And I just was like, well, that's a positive. It's no secret I don't love the state of Florida. And so I am like, well, one of the kind of things that I do enjoy is that, you have fireworks at your fingertips. You can go see them, here, like you'll get a little bit with like the Hogwarts Castle show at night, or you can go over to any one of the Disney parks kind of and have a little bit, well, not Animal Kingdom, but you know what I mean? Like you can go and experience, fireworks in some way or another. And it was just like, it's been so long since I have seen a firework now that I was like, is this what normal people feel like again? Like,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
just one of those weird things, I miss the sound of it, the feeling when the sound hit your chest. Like I miss that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just one of again, it's something that you would plan your whole day around, your park day, because you needed to make sure to get that right spot to be able to watch the nighttime spectacular. And I mean, I feel like I know Epcot Forever was just a placeholder, but like it's going to be gone now. Like that's it. We had Epcot Forever and now it's done, and Harmonious at some point will become a thing, but it is weird, and I agree with the whole hey, this is what fireworks are now. I didn't feel the need to see fireworks anywhere else because I've got fireworks at Walt Disney World. They don't get any better. But it's weird not hearing them. It's weird not having them. I enjoy the little bursts that we're getting, pyrotechnic bursts that they're using with the holiday projection show on the castle. But that'll be a great day when we're able to get those fireworks back, because they are so intrinsically part of the Walt Disney World experience. And I don't think I realized it.
Yeah.
How vital they were to the experience until they weren't.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think it's one of those things, too, where it's kind of that spectacle that, I'm fortunate that I grew up in the town next to Plymouth, Massachusetts. So obviously is always big fireworks for the 4th of July because it's where the Pilgrims, landed in 16... whatever the rock says, Plymouth Rock says. But anyway, ignoring the fact that I can't remember that date and I'm terrible, but but it's one of those where you're like, I know there are people in other areas of the world and the country and stuff like that barely ever see fireworks, and so it's one of those, like, it was just one of those kind of spectacles that you just really are like, and I don't know. Parades. We have to talk about the fact that there are no parades, which we have this on the worst list. I'm not necessarily, I don't think I miss parades as much as other people. I've never been a big parade person. I've basically enjoyed, oh my gosh, Paint the Night. I loved PhilharMagic, not PhilharMagic, not Harmonious.
Spectro?
Oh my gosh. No, it was the one with the drummers at Disneyland too. They started it. They were drumming, and it had a big Mary Poppins float and everything. And it's just like on the tip of my tongue. It sounds like It's like not Philharmonic. It's I loved it so much I don't remember the name of it. But I liked the booty. I liked the Booty-Oo parade for and that was about it. I don't really like parades. They draw too many crowds and they're just disrupting. And I haven't seen ones where I'm like, yeah, I love these. But I understand that people love parades, and I think that's a big it was a big blow to a lot of people for 2020 to be like, oh, the park's open, but there's no parades.
I was thinking just recently about those Festival of Fantasy floats that we haven't seen in so many months now. And where are they? They're parked backstage somewhere, lonely by themselves. Nobody is getting to see all these fantastic floats. We saw Tinkerbell on her treasure chest during the Halloween season. But like, I just think of the Peter Pan float with Captain Hook on the anchor below, and that huge rainbow, and Merida and her float. And I just go, oh, it'll be neat to have them back. I don't miss the crowds like you were talking about. Endless crowds packed in on on Main Street. And that I don't miss, but I do miss seeing some of those amazing floats that so many endless days and months got poured into the design of. Like, I just miss that we aren't able to see them.
It's sensational. That was
There
the
it
name of the
is.
parade. Yeah, sorry.
There it is.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's like a craftsmanship that's just one of those things where you're like, put them somewhere so we can just like maybe go look at them or take a
Oh,
socially distanced selfie in front of them. I always throw up my peace sign all the time now. I don't know. I just don't know what to do with my hands, so it's permanent now.
it's
Um,
perfect.
I think, like, speaking of parades and what we're talking about too, things that draw crowds is, we saw the canceling of the holiday parties this year, and it was one of those like kind of like to be expected. I feel like I kind of wish they could have still done them and just had them limited capacity like they used to back in the day, and they would have still worked. But I understand there's probably a cost. They probably lost a lot of money. Not they lost a lot of money for being closed for however many months, including Disneyland still being closed. But it probably just wasn't economically feasible for them. The benefit wouldn't have been enough in relation to like what the park attendance is at and stuff like that. So it's kind of one of those where it's really I don't know. It was to be expected,
It was. It was to be expected. We knew it was coming, but it didn't make it any less painful when it happened. And I know pain is relative. Like our pain over something that we've lost at Walt Disney World is nothing compared to those families who are dealing with loved ones who have been impacted by COVID. But yeah, that was just it. There's been a string of bummer news stories after bummer news stories, and it's tough to lose these things that I think, I'll speak for myself, I take for granted every year. Like,
Yeah.
the Halloween party is going to happen and the Christmas party is going to happen, and all of these things happen. That's just the way it goes. And this year that has all been kind of rewritten.
I think the hardest part for me is that this is going to be terrible of me to say, but the Halloween party, like, I'll go every other year for personal reasons because I know that we always cover the party, but it's not a fun experience covering the party for work. That's really rude of me to say. I'm very fortunate to still have a job, to be employed right now, so I don't mean to sound ungrateful or anything like that, but it is physically demanding on my body, and so I always leave in a lot of pain. And it's not like because I am a videographer, that it is stressful to get around because of these, like, you only have like well, I guess you have two shots, but you have the parade, you have the fireworks, you have the other offerings you've got to get into, and the fact that they've been so crowded the last couple of years, it's exhausting. But like for me, the thing I love about the parade on a personal level, not a non-work related one, is that it always was like, at least there's somewhere where I can go dressed up in costume to go like trick or treating still, like, because I it is, again, no secret, Halloween is my favorite holiday of the year. I love to pretend to be somebody else, and I was so bummed out because this year it was like on a Friday or a Saturday or whatever it was, and it was just one of those where I think the weather was actually not too bad this year for the first time ever, in like forever, and it's been tough. And now here we are, rounding out the end of the new year, still kind of locked up inside. And so it was like, I feel like I'm missing that little burst or pocket of joy that we got from these parties, it's it's a shame. It's too bad. We have to find new ways to make those pockets of joy, though. So we must not fall into that wallow of sadness
Yes.
and self-pity and stuff. So, I think one of the things that's kind of depressing too, thinking in relation to like the future, and like I've said repeatedly now, we haven't seen the end of these ripple effects, is that I think we're at the end of development at Walt Disney World for probably, my guess is like 15 years. I think at least a decade, if not more than that. But I don't think we're ever going to get something like Galaxy's Edge or Toy Story Land. I would be surprised if we ever saw the third Universal theme park get built in the next 20 years. I don't think they'll sell the land, but I don't know. But it's one of those where I think we're kind of about to hit a wall with, like, there's going to be a big recoup. They have to finish what they started at Epcot, and I think it's just going to be, they have to finish it enough so that they can take down barriers and walls and not just have giant torn down buildings everywhere. But I think Epcot is still going to be the Epcot from what it was, but now with 2 less buildings and like maybe a little bit of stuff, But it's a shame. Like Mary Poppins, I'm so sad about that.
Yeah, I mean, things that have disappeared from, the promotional film that's being shown in the Epcot experience. That's, we never got to see them come to fruition, like, and I know that happens with a lot of announcements. There's a lot of fanfare, and you just never know exactly what you're going to get. But we may have Dreamer's Point, and as of right now, it sounds like we're still going to have Journey of Water, and Ratatouille will open sometime early.
What is Dreamer's Point?
Dreamer's Point is the area that they're building right behind Spaceship Earth. So
okay, not the statue, right?
Statue.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Dreamer's Point. So
not that cool building, though, right?
No, that festival center, cool building. Yeah, that's from what I understand. That's gone. With the whole park on top, how cool is that going to be?
I know.
Like, I was looking forward to seeing how they actually manifested that. Like, okay, that looks really great on paper. Exactly, show me it in real life. But I don't think we're going to get to see that.
No. After that Investors Day meeting, it's very clear that the future of imagination at Walt Disney or at the Disney Company will be on your screens and not really in life, which is a shame because I feel like Disney as a company, yes, they have brought these fantastical worlds to life in film, but that life, not lice. I don't. That's a teacher's nightmare, parents' nightmare.
No
yeah, bringing them to life is kind of what they've known for, and I feel like we're the people that made that sort of whatever you can imagine here, we can make here in physical, like in a physical form, all that physicality, all that stuff. And we've kind of gone from that for the time being, who knows what the future is going to hold, but this did bring all of these things brought about a new system, though, that has been challenging, I think, for annual pass holders. Again, not to be complaining or anything like that, because we're still able to go and whatever. But the Park Pass reservation system. Yeah,
that's not a joy to behold. The Park Pass, we understand it, we get it, we've got to have it. It's a necessary evil because you got to keep the park capacity down. You've got to allow for all the physical distancing that needs to happen in order to keep people as safe as possible. And so we have park passes, and you've got to have a reservation to get into the park. And as annual pass holders, that's not always the way that we visit the park. Even before I joined the Diz team, if I had a day at work and I just needed a hot fudge sundae, I made my park pass I didn't even have to make a park pass. I made my way to Hollywood Studios and to Hollywood Scoops, and I had my hot fudge sundae. So now you've got to, you got to get on, make that park pass, and you might not. Like, you and I both tried to get into a park today and couldn't because all the park passes are gone. So it's just it's frustrating as an annual pass holder.
Yeah, it's also hard too when like if okay, well I have to be at a park on this day in the future. You're like, okay, well now I only have these 2, and I get it. This is our job to do this and stuff like that. But there's some people who moved here for this, and only being able to plan like a couple days at a time can get a little difficult for them. But again, I know that is only for right now, and we'll move past that eventually and everything. And not to be ungrateful or anything like that, but I think that we should move on to some of the best stuff.
We've been on
the negative list for a while, so let's go to the best stuff. When I think of the year 2020, the first thing I think of, because this is basically chronological for me, I think about that big moment that we had. Right, it was all like crescendoing, and then everything came crashing down. For me, it was literally the week before we closed. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Or it might not be a week. It might have been like 10 days. But the opening of this attraction, it was something where I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is Next Generation Dark Ride. All these people are going to be able to experience this and everything. And but I'm going to hold on to that moment, like, because I was fortunate enough to go to represent Dreams in the travel agency side of stuff, and got to go along with Disney and see some other experiences like the NBA experience. They took us to the City Works at Disney Springs. They had us go to the Riviera, stuff like that. So it was a really cool experience for me personally, but then also being a part of that grand opening celebration for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I think you can attest to this too, is that there is something when you are in this Disney community and you are a fan of like the Disney parks, when there is a new attraction that has some hype around it that's about to open, there is just some sort of like excitement in the air, you know?
It is so much fun to get to experience that new thing. I mean, even if you don't live down here, if you are an avid fan of Walt Disney World and you are here, every year or every 2 or 3 years, like you feel pretty confident. You like, I know the parks. I know my favorites. I know the ins and outs. I can advise others. Like people come to you and ask for advice. Oh, sure. Let me tell you my top 5 whatevers. When something new opens, it's like the game changes completely and we're all on the same level playing field. And we all get to, it's so much fun to go in and with childlike wonder, experience this new attraction for the very first time. And personally, an attraction on the level of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, where I've said it before, everyone in the family can enjoy this attraction. I think that is just so much fun. That's all this attraction is just a whole bunch of fun for you and your friends and family.
I think you really hit the nail on the head saying it. It really is that kind of, it's that wonder. It's that, like that, those moments where, whether you're one of those people where you're like, oh, how did they do that? Or just seeing these cartoon characters that you've known kind of your whole life, but presented in this really new and interesting way. And it just kind of really, it's like a little like, oh, but then when you're there, it's like seeing a movie at midnight. Remember those movies that you could go, and you knew when you go to see the movie at midnight, when you're going to see like Spider-Man at midnight, you're there with other Spider-Man fans. And so it's really fun to kind of have that collective, like, or like Avengers. Good God. If you see Avengers yeah. Well, you could, if you heard this person going, that was me in the movie theater for not Infinity War, Endgame. I was just like, I held my breath and then I couldn't breathe and I thought I was going to hyperventilate. So I was like, because I was just like, oh, no. Tony, no.
It's a shared experience. It's everybody, you said the word collective. That's exactly what it is. We are all kids. We're all 10 years old in that moment, getting to step foot into this brand new experience. And like you said, these characters that we've grown up with and we've known all our lives just changed up a little bit. It's just, that was a great day getting to ride that attraction. And if you are watching or listening and you haven't gotten to ride that attraction yet, you're going to love it. Please let us know what you think when you do.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, I feel like we made this list kind of in order. So we talked about how the parks, COVID had that closing of the parks. I think when the parks finally reopened, yes, a lot of us were very, I don't want to say skeptical, hesitant. We're, especially you and I are very vigilant and very careful people. We've said before how we carry all this stuff around with us in our backpacks at all times and everything. And when we went to do our, Journey into Imagination episode, as we're getting in the attraction, I was bleaching down the ride vehicles we're going into it.
I loved it.
And so it was, it was one of those where it was nervous, but it was also, I feel like it was a sign of hope where you were like, maybe things will get better. And I don't, we're going ups and downs. This is the thing that goes up, down, all over the place, all the time. And I am very aware and understand that. Trust me, I follow all this stuff. I read all and everything about it. But it was, I know how much it meant to a lot of people when this reopened. I mean, people could leave their house and like go walk around a park, a place where like masks were enforced, social distancing were enforced. There was all these cleaning measures that were in place, all those hand washing stations. So at least even if you didn't feel comfortable like me going like on stuff, you could still be like, well, I'm outside of my house because I don't have a yard. So I am like, I'm going insane where I live. And it was nice to be able to be like, well, at least I have a park I can go into.
Yeah, Walt Disney World, Disneyland, all of these parks were designed, Walt's original desire was for us to leave the world of today, right? And to step into something that was just this fantasy, this fantastical, crafted, created environment where we kind of get to leave behind some of the dailiness of life. And so to step back into the parks, to step back into the Magic Kingdom for that annual pass holder preview day was just something unlike anything that had come before it and anything I think that'll come behind it. It was such an interesting day and a unique day. And I just remember when, Craig and I were in there filming and we were doing live streams and running around the park. Like it was, you got to, again, it's that childlike wonder, and it's okay. Something, we've got a piece back now, a piece that was of our life that was so important and such a big element of it. And for us Walt Disney World fans, like just knowing if you were far away from Walt Disney World, just knowing it was closed was weird. It's a weird feeling, right? So to have it reopen, mind you, very differently, but to at least have that come back online. And even as it's, since the months since it's been reopened, just having some of little things come back online, we just get little celebrations here and there, which is a lot of fun to be able to go, okay, this is reopened, or Park Hopper will start again on January 1st, in a modified fashion.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, all these little moments, electrical water pageant's going to start running again. Those are fun little, surprises that we get to say, okay, a little piece of the magic is back.
Yeah. And we did talk about how some things have changed, obviously, for now, for the future, we don't know. They're just a little bit different. They look a little different. We spoke a little bit about how some characters have missed, but that we got to see some of those characters come back in these new types of socially distanced meet and greets. And honestly, for some of them, I think it gives them a whole breath of new life. Like I love seeing like Chewie and Rey above Galaxy's Edge over there all the time, because now I know that's where they're going to be too. But also, that is a weird meet and greet though, because I feel like Rey only ever talks to Chewie, so I'm always like, we're over here, talk to me. Like, but like, you had Joy and Winnie the Pooh at Epcot, and they were, people went crazy for that. And there's been a lot of, there's just like, I think for me, it's fun to have the socially distanced character. I'm enjoying that meet and greet, because sometimes it is like I just kind of want to walk up and be like bye, and take the photo and move on with my life and not have a big thing about it. But in addition to those character meet and greets, we also got, because we said parades were gone, but we got a new type of parade. We got these cavalcades and flotillas at Animal Kingdom, and I personally, I know Pete makes fun of them a lot, but I love them. I think they're way better, because I think they do. I do wish that maybe there was more of them, where they used more of the floats, like you spoke about earlier, about how it was, how they're just kind of sitting there. So maybe if we could somehow showcase each one of the floats from the parade, so each cavalcade went through was different. But like the flotillas driving through Animal Kingdom is so great. Like I love walking around and being able to like wave to the characters. And right now they have Santa Claus out there, and like I feel like that just brings, it's like a nice little moment in my day to see like Santa and be, yell to Santa and whatever. And yeah. I don't know, how do you feel about cavalcades?
Yeah, I love the cavalcades. It is all of the character interaction with none of the commitment, right? There's no awkward moments where you approach the character and you got to think of something to say and you got to pose and all that jazz. And then there's that awkward goodbye. And maybe, you're somebody who's listening or watching who, that's not a big deal for you, but for some, it can be a little bit of an anxious moment, and you don't have that. You get to, the music will change and something's coming, and you turn your attention to that, and it's so much fun, and you get to celebrate with those characters or the Discovery Island drummers or Santa or whoever, and then they're on their merry way, which is just the coolest thing. It is neat because you kind of go, okay, so who's this going to be? Is this Santa or is this Mickey and his friends? Oh, it's, here's Frozen coming through and there's Elsa and Anna. I mean, it's a lot of fun. You don't have to wrangle your kids to sit still on that curb for minutes on end for a parade. It just pops up. It's a little delight sweeping through, and then it's gone, and you get to go to your next thing.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I like the most, is that it doesn't involve it's not so disruptive of the park flow, and it's like you could just kind of walk up and it happens. And I feel like we spend so much of our time just trying to wait for a parade, but then since I'm not a parade person, I'm always like, oh, I just want to cross the street. Like it gets very frustrating at Magic Kingdom. But so let's talk a little bit about, obviously there was a lot of, we talked about the layoffs and how sad that was and unfortunate what that was. But out of that, also, we got some great things. We got to see some great moments of people. I always get so emotional. Like anytime I watch a movie or read stories about strangers helping strangers, I am just an emotional wreck. Like if you have never seen the movie The Impossible, I basically cried the entire time. But anyway, I feel like we've had some moments that remind me of that, where it's just this monsoon, of like terrible things that happened and bad news, that then we had people who held up umbrellas to, help others and, get out of the rain and get out of that bad. And one of those, I think a big one for me is the cast member pantry, I think was such a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, there were moments of light that have come out of this dark period that are just the coolest thing. The cast member pantry started by someone who, was just boots on the ground going, okay, there are people who are in need here. How can we help? And it just became this groundswell of reaction, of buy-in from others. And it was a neat way for people, I think, who lived far away, but who love Walt Disney World, to be able to love on the people of Walt Disney World during that moment. And I mean, it was just a great way to be able to help extend a hand, like you were saying.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back. It's people who were down and out. Also, it's those cast members that went to Etsy, that found other ways, that were like, okay. And I'm glad that we could be a force, specifically you and Jackie, really. It
was all Jackie, not me, Jackie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That really just kind of, I'm always happy when an entity can do things that are not self-serving, and I think that was one of those great moments, is that you use the voice to help those who didn't have one. And that is always and will always be something very important to me. And I think, I think that that's something we are, a lot of us have had a lot of time this summer and over this year to kind of really look inside of ourselves and check your privilege and that sort of a thing, and the voice that you have, and examine those, and the infrastructures in place for other people that might not be able to speak as loudly as you, and just say like, hey, let me help you. And that's all, I think that's where it all starts, is coming together and helping each other. Just find a little bit of hope, find a little bit of, get your story told, say like, oh, this person, look at this crafty person out here. Let's help them, make a couple extra bucks so they don't lose their house or their apartment, or they can feed their kids, or just help people. I don't know. Yep. I feel like that for me in the 2020, that's going to be the part I try and look through all the other mess. Was it Mr. Rogers who said to always look for those helping?
Yep.
You'll always
look for
see
the
people.
helpers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it makes me very like, that's what I think about. And that spirit, I hope, stays alive and everything. But we have to talk about it now, because now I've gone off on this tangent about all of that stuff, is that we did witness a really nice moment when we were at Epcot yesterday together, when the little girl just happened to be walking down in just the right place, and this little girl was handing this ornament to a custodial cast member, and I'm like,
and she looked up at the cast member and wished her happy holidays, and you and I just went, oh, like how amazing is it just to have amazing, that's good parenting right there. So virtual high five to those parents. But good for that little girl who went, yeah, I have a voice in this moment, and I can extend a hand to someone else. And it happens. We have so many opportunities when we're here at Walt Disney World just to look a cast member in the eyes and thank them. And when you do that, it's so much fun to be on the giving side, to be able to say thank you for all that you're doing to help keep us safe. And they stop and they take in your words that you've said to them, and you can really tell that it's made an impact on them, and that maybe they don't hear that a whole lot, but it's just a lot of fun to be able just to say a little something or do a little something. And if you're looking for a way to do a little something for those cast members like Ryno, like you were talking about, go to the homepage of the Diz. So wdwinfo.com. You'll see right in the middle of the homepage, at least at this point, that's where that is. But Jackie's curated list of all of the small businesses that the cast members have started over this period. They're all listed there. And you can find just about anything and everything that you're looking for on that list.
Yeah, and that's really awesome that exists out there to be able to have that resource. So we appreciate that very much. I think we should also talk about a big thing that happened for the Diz this year. Now that we were just talking about, I don't mean to now be like, no, we're going to switch to some self-serving. But I think there's another thing that the Diz has always been heavily involved in, and it's if you are new here or not familiar, Give Kids the World is this wonderful organization that helps terminally ill children, get their wishes granted. And unfortunately, with travel being cut off with everything that it is, the village basically had to be closed, and they laid off, I forget what they said, like more than 80% of the staff and things. And so we have always been trying to help them, but we did a marathon show during Labor Day this year. And Deni, I'm going to let you talk about this a little more, because you, having been a fan of the show way before I came along.
Yeah, this was born out of Bob Varley's love for Give Kids the World Village. And if you've never been to Give Kids the World, it is down on Bass Road in Kissimmee. So about 20 minutes away from Walt Disney World. And it's straight down 192. So if you ever want to go over and volunteer, go to gktw.org. Check it all out. There's a way to virtually do your volunteer orientation so that when you're down here on your next trip, you can go over and volunteer if you want to. But way back in the day, because just in honor of Bob and everything that he was to the Diz and to the Diz Unplugged, Pete started the Power of 10. And so he was challenging each listener to find 10 friends who would give $10. And it started out that way. And over the years, you all did tons of amazing meetups regionally around the country. And the Diz Unplugged team, some of the members would go. They deployed to all these different regional events. And we'd get to kind of hear what happened at each of those. And money was raised. And fast forward all of these years, we finally got over $1 million at this year's marathon. So that, if you haven't, that whole marathon is on YouTube. So look it up if you've not experienced that moment where Pete gets to make that announcement. It is truly, it's just, it's a very genuine, authentic moment of, oh my stars, we did it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, because he had said to us where he was just like, oh, he basically said, the next one we do will probably hit the million, maybe, because they were like, oh, we won't do. So it was just a shock to get to it, and it in this time too. And honestly, I liked having the event over Labor Day. I think it definitely worked out much better. And I loved the countdown to the final thing. I'm glad that someone finally listened to me after 3 years of doing it, where I was like, why are we not going to the last day for this. And then Pete was
Yeah,
like,
that
that's a
was
great idea. I was like, I've been saying that for a while. It's okay. But
well.
like,
This year was your year, Ryno.
yeah, it was,
No,
it's
it was a
all
great
about
idea.
me. And yeah, so it's a great place. Oh my gosh. I feel like I also want to bring up the fact that I could have inserted this earlier. I feel like one of the best things for me for 2020, I'm really looking forward to the Splash Mountain makeover that was announced. That is still happening. It has been emphasized that that is going to be a fast track event. That will happen sooner than later. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. Can't wait to see what they do. It's it's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to go, okay, so because I'll compare things. Okay, so what was in this spot before and what's
Yeah,
there now? I
I
just
love doing
the
that.
whole reimagining of it, like that's going to be so much fun to experience.
And Tiana is just like sorely underrepresented in the
Yep.
park, so it's nice to finally get her, like, have her get some recognition that she deserves. I'd like some Mulan as well. If we could get some sort of a Mulan attraction going as well, I'd love that. But
Well, and rewinding back to Tiana, what if we got beignets in the
I know I would love that. I'm looking forward to the fact that it probably means that we'd get a Lewis meet and greet or whatever, because Lewis is
park?
my favorite character in that movie. Well, I love Ray too. Well, I love Tiana. Well, I love them all. I love them
You
all.
love them
I
all.
know Craig loves Dr. Facilier, so he'll be
Yes,
thrilled. Thrilled.
he's got
um,
cards.
yeah, the cards, the cards. Um, what? Anything else?
Let me look over my list. I think we hit it. I think we hit it all. I think we got a little bit of everything.
Is there something you're looking forward to in 2021?
Oh, Rhino. I cannot wait to be able to ride Remy's Ratatouille adventure. That's number one on my list. I was on the Skyliner last night and the lights were lit and the lights were on inside La Crêperie de Paris. So you're in there. It looked more done than I have seen it look before. They were testing the fountain, the whole 9 yards, and I was just completely geeking out in that
Yeah.
gondola all by myself. But I cannot wait to be able to step foot on that new pavement and walk behind that corner and just see it all unfold before me. What about you?
This is the pig inside of me, but I am very excited for Gideon's to open at Disney Springs. I know. I mean, I honestly I live close enough that it's just like I could go to their original East End Market location in not Winter Garden,
Park.
Winter Park. Although I did just read the other day, I think they are opening one in Winter Garden. I could be misspeaking,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm pretty sure I had seen them hiring for another location, and I was like, "What?"
That's so
But
good.
those cookies are like when they started doing their curbside pickup thing. I was like, "Oh yes," because otherwise, like before, you used to have to order a certain number or anything like that, and so like I'm telling you that coffee cake cookie that is going to be an exclusive flavor to Disney Springs is life changing. I had that, and I was like, "I'm going to take a bite," and I ate the whole cookie, and I am not somebody who eat like I know that, oh, you ate a whole cookie. It's a huge cookie. Like,
Yes.
and so oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that. Although the rumor is that might actually the rumor was that might open before New Year's Eve, but
Yes.
I don't know for sure if it is or not. And obviously we are recording this like just before that. So if it has already opened, then you can probably find me there.
Exactly.
You know.
We'll be
Um
outside shoving
yeah.
cookies in our face.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, like, I don't know. I don't, honestly, I think I'm looking forward to, like, assuming things go on track with everything that's going on right now with the vaccine, and that that we'd get everything more under control. I think I'm looking forward to the reopening of Disneyland, I hope, and the Avengers Campus. There's a lot on the West Coast that really has my attention for 2021, that it feels like it's going to be another one of those years where I'm there like 15 times, not even work related, just going
Mhm.
for my own personal reasons because I love it out there. And I hope for everybody's health and safety that we obviously do get this under control sooner than later. and that we all get through this last like little push. Hopefully, what is the last little push to get us there? But I think I'm kind of looking forward to, hopefully that means we also get to see returning of like some old friends. Folks who are friends of like the show that we've met through the show, being able to like see and spend some times with them, and even if it is still socially distanced and outdoors and we're still safe as we always should be, like it'll still be nice to start having that familiarity and like interaction again. So I'm looking forward to that, I think. And new experiences, I think. So well, that's it. That's what we got. That's the best. That's what we have. The best and worst of 2020. Thank you so much, Deni, for having this conversation with me.
Yay. Thanks for having me along for the ride, and Happy New Year, Ryno.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Actually, my birthday is tomorrow. If this is coming out on the 31st, I'm realizing it's hard when you're not recording on the real days. You always kind of forget what's around it. But yeah, so I hope everybody does have a safe, happy, healthy New Year's Eve, and a 2021, and whatever. I'm not elegant. Eloquent, elegant, any of those things. I'm none of these. I hope you all have a great New Year. We just want to say thank you, everybody who has helped us, supported us throughout this year. It's been difficult for everybody, and we are here for you as you have been here for us. So thank you very much for all of that, and we hope that we can continue to bring you a little bit of happiness in 2021 and beyond. So just thank you. And that's it. Let us know in the comments what you're looking forward to. And maybe you had some bests that we left off the list here, and we'd really like to hear about those. So comments and all that fun jazz. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget we have all these other channels. The theme park content is on the Diz YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/wdwinfo. You've got the Disney Dining channel, the DVC channel, the Disney Cruise Line channel, the Moving to Orlando channel. There's so many channels.
All the channels.
All the channels. We own YouTube. No, we don't. But soon. No. Yeah. So check out those. There might be some content out there for you that you might enjoy on there as well. And the next time you're planning a Disney vacation, we just ask that you consider booking with Dreams Unlimited Travel, because again, it doesn't cost you anything extra on your vacation, and you help support the show and all those channels out there. So thank you for that. Thanks again, Deni. Thank you everybody out there for listening and watching. And we will return in 2021 with another episode of the best and worst of Walt Disney World. Bye, everybody.